You're watching KLTX, Channel 15, serving the city of Lufkin.
All right. Movies, TV shows. Let's just get down to it. Josh, what are you watching?
Spectacle.
Just spectacle?
Mostly spectacle.
Mostly spectacle?
And some quirky weirdness.
Quirky.
Like me. I think it's still in theaters, or recently was, Midway. Very exciting. A special effects extravaganza, I have to say. And even from the opening couple of minutes, because they start with the bombing of Pearl Harbor to set up why Midway is so important. And really, they did a good job kind of staying focused in this movie on it's all about what leads to the Battle of Midway. So it had a lot of strengths going for it as far as, again, top-notch special effects. I remember exactly one CGI moment that made me cringe. It was in the first few minutes, which was a really bad place for it because, it's like, and you remember that the whole movie and you're thinking, is it going to be? No, it's okay. But it's just, I don't know, it was one of those things, and it wasn't like it was a wide shot of the deck of a ship and people running across. It didn't look right to me. I don't know why. I'll probably find out later it was real and not CGI, but it looked weird. I don't know. But anyway, it's the story of World War II. It's 1942, I think it was, because it was just 6 months after Pearl Harbor. The Japanese fleet pretty much owned the Pacific because the U.S. fleet had been pretty well wiped out, except for our aircraft carriers. And the whole movie is an aircraft carrier movie. So you've got airplanes, you've got naval ships, you've got more anti-aircraft fire than I have ever seen in my life. Beautiful, just going everywhere. But they do a really good job setting it all up, and you've got a lot of different storylines, which for me was a bit of a downside because it spent time over here and then over here and then over here. They were all relevant to the story, but I kind of want that hero to root for who's my guy.
I wonder if that's a product of television now.
Maybe.
Because we have these big epic televisions that shows that people seem to really like, but
it's hard to do that in a 2-hour movie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because we want to cover all these different aspects that work great in a 10-hour television show.
I felt like I wasn't too invested in any one character. Not that they didn't try. They give you one pilot to really root for, and I think he was my favorite of all the characters, and he was pretty cool. Like, he was just kind of it's like, no, we're going in here. It's dangerous, I know, but we're going. So come on.
Well, I didn't have any excitement for this based on the trailer. So let me go back. So when I saw the trailer, I was like, cool, and I had a brief moment of excitement. And then Michael Bay and Pearl Harbor popped into my head, and I'm like, ooh, this looks just like Pearl Harbor Episode 2.
Oh, no.
And was that what we got? Or
no, we got, they did not have any fictitious side stories distracting from the history. And up front, you know how they always say based on true events or whatever? It didn't. It said, these are the true events that led to da-da-da. So they're certainly telling you that it's all true. And the only real, I guess, kind of love side stories felt like they were historical in nature. Like, because you'd occasionally get the people docked at Pearl Harbor or wherever, and so they're home with their wives. But there was no, no philandering or any of that kind of side interest. They were just, there.
I think it was the Coen brothers that said they put based on a true story at the beginning so they could lie about whatever they wanted to and no one would question it. just saying.
Tarantino needs to pick that up. So, counter to the old Midway, which I'm pretty sure a couple of the main characters were made up because they weren't in the new one. And there was a whole subplot about one of the pilots who had a Japanese-American girlfriend who had then gotten locked in one of the concentration camps, and they had that whole thing, which that was a true event. That really did happen, but I don't think it happened to that person at that time leading up to that battle. So take that or leave it. The old movie actually did have a few strengths, star power being one of them, because you had Charlton Heston and a whole bunch of other guys whose names now slip my mind, sorry.
Did Charlton Heston have on pants?
Yes. The entire movie. But it had good star power, and they were, for lack of great special effects, because it was from the early mid 60s where effects houses were kind of not a big thing. They used actual war documentary footage, which was really cool, and that was neat to see. Once I had already seen the new one, they nailed it too, as far as making it look like the original battle, but from a different perspective. The anti-aircraft fire is just amazing. I wouldn't fly into that.
I don't think I could fly. Given an option.
Well, those guys were brave. I have to say, hats off to them. But it's just a good movie. And the old movie also did explain a little bit better a few of the logistics, I think, that the new movie they didn't really get into, because they were doing more of putting you in the cockpit with the guys. But they're both good movies. I think I like the new one a little bit better. Definitely worth a watch. So,
you like the new one better?
Yes.
Okay.
Just for the battle sequences, if nothing else, it's more entertaining for sure. And if I'm understanding correctly, the history is more accurate. I can do without the fake side stories. It doesn't need them.
Well, I've been watching The Mandalorian. There's a time of filming this. There's 3 episodes out. I first have to have a disclaimer that I am not, I enjoy Star Wars, but I am not one of the Star Wars people, in that I didn't read the books. I don't know the side histories. I can't remember most of the characters' names. I certainly don't know all of the little, this guy was in a shot for a third of a second as the camera panned, and there's those guys that can, tell you his entire backstory. I'm not one of those people, and I really liked the original trilogy, the episodes 4, 5, and 6. Was super excited when episode 1 came out, and then it came out, and I didn't hate it. It was okay. Episode 2 was okay. I hated 3, and I prefer just never to watch it again. The new ones came out. I was super excited for it again, and they're okay. Some of them I like better than others, but again, they've kind of burnt me, and I'm kind of so when The Mandalorian and they were advertising it, I thought 2 things. Well, here we go, another Star Wars, and I don't care. And it's going to be Disney's, it's them trying to get you to buy into their subscription, and they're just
cash grab,
yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And actually, the kids talked me into getting Disney Plus, and I'm like, well, I'll try it. And when you open it, it says Mandalorian, and I honestly didn't even watch it. I watched DuckTales and Chip and Dale and Darkwing Duck and the old cartoons from the past, and it's like, yeah, okay, I'll watch it. And I watched the first episode, and it was amazing. It was so good. It's honestly like whoever, and I know we've had different directors and stuff, but it's like whoever is in charge of Star Wars at Disney, it's like they sent them out for lunch. You go get some sandwiches, enjoy your time off. We're gonna make Star Wars. And it is so good. And this is not my original thought. A lot of people have compared it to a Western, and I have to agree. The pacing, the blocking, the silence. There's so many moments of silence. There's not it's not music blaring and blah 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 blah. They're traveling, and you just get the wind blowing or whatever, or the sound of the animals, and there's just that silence that lets the tension build, and we've talked about this before. So many shows lack that. Yeah, that silence. There's just got to be constant. It has time to breathe, and that may be a characteristic of it being a TV show, is they have the time to do that. But it also very much reminds me of the old spaghetti westerns where you just have the slow pan, and you have Clint Eastwood could fit right into this and would not be out of place at all. and I love that. It's dirty. Everything is it's got damage. It's got grime on it, and I don't mean dirty as in R-rated, but it's there's the little layer of dust on everything, and right. And I won't spoil too terribly much here, nothing major. If you've watched the previews, but there's some stormtroopers that show up. But this is supposed to be post episode 6, I believe. And again, not a Star Wars expert, so you'll have to forgive me. But it's somewhere between episode 6 and 7. And so the Empire has basically fallen, and so these old stormtroopers and their crap is just grimy and beat up and burnt and worn out, and it's what would happen if you were trying to hold on to this way of life that is no longer a way of life, and you don't get fresh stuff. It's just great to see that. It scales everything down, which we always talked about too big. In Star Wars, there's always and literally there is always a Death Star going to blow up, something, and that's not it. It's about this bounty hunter who is a Mandalorian, and they give him a mission: go retrieve this one person and bring him back. And that's like the gist of that. He's not saving the world. He's not even really doing good or bad. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know who he's working
with. Is he going and getting a bad guy and bringing him back in for a bounty? Is he going and getting a good guy because the bad guys want him? You don't know. But that small scale, it brings it down. It makes it personal. One of the things I really think movies lack now, or TV shows for that matter, is great actors. And maybe there are great actors, but they're not cast appropriately. You're famous, you can play this. Not, you would be a great match for this person. And I think this does that very, very well. In fact, The Mandalorian, if you tell me we're going to make a show, the main protagonist is going to have a helmet that he never takes off, so he doesn't have a face, and he's going to say like 3 lines every hour. And we're going to make you like him, and it's going to be enjoyable, and you're going to root for him and feel for him, and I wouldn't believe that.
He's Judge Dredd.
Kind of ish, yeah.
Not the Stallone Judge Dredd, the other one, Carl Urban.
But they do. He does such a great job of like the physical work of like you can get what he's thinking by his body postures. And there's other characters around him that talk. And Nick Nolte plays a character. Carl Weathers plays a character. Like they have these great actors, but they also have them in a role that fits them. And I think that's like just truly amazing. The storytelling is there. The scenery is there. And one of the things that really impressed me is it doesn't get bogged down in Star Wars. It really films, like the later films especially, like we have to give you Star Wars. Like there's got to be 27 nods to this, and we've got to have these characters. 3 episodes in, not one Jedi, not one lightsaber, nothing. Like literally, there's little hints to things. There's recognizable creatures and there's recognizable aliens, and you can still see them and go, I remember we saw those in episode 4, and but they're just kind of ancillary characters in the background. It's not a constant like, oh, here's Luke, here's Leia, here's Rey, here's whatever. It's the Mandalorian. He's off kind of, and they're kind of off in a system by themselves, and they're doing their thing. And if a character does look familiar, it's not the same character, it's somebody different. I love that. The writing is great, the acting is great, the casting is great. I forget what they spent, but they spent a literal ton of money on making this, so it looks like a Star Wars movie. Like there were a couple of CGI like scenes that mainly were these big wide shots that stuff didn't move quite right, but other than that, nowhere do I question the special effects. There's puppets, there's like they just do all the stuff great, just like I wanted from it. And I'm intrigued by the story. It's interesting. There's lots of action, and it's just great. And I'm learning more about the Mandalorians I know nothing about. And they don't sit down and just like beat you with the history of the Mandalorian, but as he goes through stuff, you get to learn little bits and pieces, and it's just so much fun. And it is the only show on right now, and for a while actually, that like I'll watch it and I'll get up and I'll go make supper or something, and I'll be like, man, I can't wait for that next episode. And then I remember they're doing the weekly thing, and you gotta wait a week, and it's like, no. And I tried really hard to have some like negatives, but these are just like, I had to reach really hard.
All the nits will be picked.
That's right. So my one was, and it was just in one episode, and I don't remember if it was the first or second episode, but there were a couple again of the CGI that just stuff didn't move right, and it's like, oh, that just looks like bad CGI. But it was very quick and fleeting, and once it was gone, we were right back down to, you know, the close-ups, and I didn't notice it from that. If you are a huge fan of like the Star Wars universe and you want to see Jedi and all that, you could be disappointed in the fact that they don't show up. Again, I think it's better for not having that.
Right.
But I could definitely see where...
I could see some people being disappointed.
There's not one Skywalker in sight, you know, and so I could see people being disappointed with that. And the last one, which is the only like real complaint I have, is just the fact that it's on Disney Plus. So you have to buy another subscription. I mean, we cut the cord years ago, got rid of satellite and cable and all that because we were paying outrageous sums of money for a bunch of crap we didn't watch. And we're almost back to paying that exact amount again because, well, I want to watch His Dark Material, so we have to have HBO. All right, we want to watch Glow, so you got to have Netflix. My wife loves watching the old TV shows. She's been on a Bones minute or so. Hulu.
Oh, Hulu. Okay.
We want to watch Carnival Row and The Boys and Amazon Prime. I want to watch The Mandalorian. You got Disney Plus.
Not counting your DC universe.
And so Titans and Doom Patrol, and then we got DC Universe, and then we're also big fans of anime. So we have Funimation and we have Crunchyroll. And again, they're not as near as expensive as cable is, but you figure, you know, $10, which they're not. Some are $4 and some are $15.
But even if they were $5 each, that's $35 right there.
And it's like, well, I thought this was going to be a great thing because we could pay, you know, $10 and watch whatever. And granted, people, almost everyone I've talked to has loved Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. It's, if you do like the yearly subscription, I think it's $5.80 a month. Yeah. So it's almost nothing. And you do get not all the Disney catalog, but you get a big chunk of it. The app itself is kind of the organization of the shows is weird. Like they was Mighty Ducks, because Mighty Ducks 2 is called D2 Mighty Ducks. It's in the D's, and then Mighty Ducks is in the M's. So if you're scrolling through, you come across D2 and D3, and they're not categorized together. There's not a lot of categories at all. It makes it really hard to find stuff. You basically just have to scroll through literally every movie they have to find anything, or search for it and hope they have it. And the app itself, and it might just be the number of people that are using it, and it's brand new, but it's crashed, it's had some problems, some features have not been accessible. So if The Mandalorian had popped up on something else, it would have been amazing. They're just having to pay. And I'm not a huge, like, I like a lot of the old Disney movies, and they're on there, the Apple Dumpling Gang, things like that from way back, that I will probably end up watching again. But the movies are one of those things I will probably go through and watch all of them again, and then I'm done. And if they don't keep a, you know, continuation of an original series, then why do you have it? But then they're going to do The Mandalorian, and they're going to punch out other stuff, and you're going to have to keep paying and paying and paying and paying.
That's the plan.
And so we're basically buying 7 different TV channels to watch one show on each one, and it's a little frustrating. And that would be my only like major complaint about it, because the show is amazing. In fact, I like it so much that I started watching the Clone Wars cartoon, which I had never seen because we didn't have Disney and didn't have access to it, which is now on Disney Plus.
Right. So
just to fill in the time between Mandalorian, like I need more Star Wars because it was that good. What else you got?
All right. On Netflix, found a movie from 2017, Pottersville. It has Michael Shannon is the main star, and I just forgot his name. Oh boy, the first one. Ron Perlman was also in it. Just random, quirky, weird movie. Kind of a comedy, but basically it's about this guy, and Michael Shannon playing a good guy is really unsettling, because you expect him to turn evil at some point because he's so good at playing bad guys, but he was the hero in this. And it's a small town up in New York somewhere, so it's constantly snowy, but it's kind of a dying town. Like, I don't know if the wood mill had closed or what, something like that, but So the town's kind of dying, and he's just a nice guy. Like he's got a general store that has been in his family for like 3 generations, and people come and sometimes they don't have money, so he has the ledger where he writes down. He's like, yeah, you're fine, just go ahead. And he writes down what they got. And like the opening scene, he shovels his little sidewalk right in front of his place and then looks down and the whole sidewalk is covered in snow. And he shovels the whole thing off just because he's a nice guy. But he has a bit of a romantic disappointment, let's say. I don't want to spoil what happens, but because it's worth just getting surprised by it. In any way, he ends up getting really, really, really drunk and running through the town in a ghillie suit, like a hunting ghillie suit and a gorilla head, just because he was way out of his mind. Anyway, next thing you know, the whole town's abuzz because Bigfoot was sighted. And it's like literally everyone starts descending on the town to hunt for Bigfoot now, and even like at one point a helicopter flies in with one of those like naturalist shows where the guy hunts for the mythical creatures, and of course he sees how happy everybody is, so he has to keep doing it. He has to keep being cited as Bigfoot, so people will be excited, and it gets really, really out of hand. But it's a weird movie, but it was a lot of fun, so I'd say it's worth checking out. Pottersville, PG-13. I think it was some kind of risque humor, but it wasn't really anything horribly objectionable, so definitely older kids would be safe for, but maybe not the younger ones so much. Be prepared to explain what furries are. And I'll leave it at that. What else you got?
Oh, okay, so you're going to tell them to Google furries and find out what they're like. That's bad advice.
No, don't. Just make sure safe search is on if you Google furries.
So I think I want to talk about Watchmen.
Okay.
So HBO right now has put out a Watchmen series that is not based on... It's in the same universe as the Watchmen comic and movie. Okay. But it takes place in different location and different characters. So none of the main characters are there.
Oh, okay.
This is, for me, I want to talk about it because it's been a major disappointment so far. It has great characters, great actors. Just the story hasn't been there. And like Luke Gossett Jr., who has just kind of briefly appeared, he's going to play a fairly good-sized role, you can tell. And I love Luke Gossett Jr. And I kind of miss him. He hasn't done anything in forever. Yeah. And but he's a great character actor, and I really enjoy stuff he's in. So I'm looking forward to that. They give us this whole new world of superheroes, and they're basically the story goes like this: that the wearing a mask has been outlawed for superheroes and vigilantes, but police, on the other hand, are pretty much required to wear masks because these like fringe extremist groups, if they know you're a cop, will find where you live and kill you. Yikes. So police have to wear masks everywhere they go. Well, there are, I would call them kind of lower level superheroes, so not quite, Superman or Dr. Manhattan level superheroes that work for the police department, but they also get to wear masks because they're part of law enforcement. And it follows around a few of these. There's a few that focuses on more than others, as they're just kind of going through their day-to-day things. But there's this group of like white supremacists that wear the Rorschach mask, and they're the ones that had killed a bunch of the cops, and they thought they were gone, and they're back now. And so the cops are trying to figure out who's part of the organization again, because mask, and we don't know who's who. And I enjoyed the mystery. I enjoyed the story, but it's really weird. Like, the show is weird, and I usually enjoy weird, but it's just kind of a constant barrage of weird, and it's one of those where it's slightly left of normal, and that makes it unsettling, and it makes it really hard for me to watch because I like the characters and I want to see what they do and I want to know more about them. It's full of violence, and we like violence, but at the same time, it's just so weird that it's hard to watch that next episode. And I found that to be kind of disappointing because I was really, really looking forward to this. I loved the original Watchmen comic. I thought the movie was good. I know the movie was kind of polarizing for people.
If they ruined the Hallelujah song, I can't like that movie.
But I think my expectations were too high. Also thinking, well, Game of Thrones was gone. HBO needs a flagship show, and I'm like, well, they're going to spend a lot of time and a lot of money, and people are going to put in a great amount of effort into this, and they probably did, and a lot of people really enjoy it. But literally, when the first episode ended, I had to go online and look up stuff to figure out what was going on.
Whoa!
It was raining squid, baby squid, and I had no idea what that was about. I had no idea. It tried to give you a little history lesson at the first as to why things were, and I couldn't follow it. Maybe I'm just stupid, but I had a hard time following it. And Alan Moore, who wrote the original Watchmen, he likes to be weird and he likes to upset people and things, and I definitely get that from the show.
I'd be upset if it was raining squid.
They seem to just go with it. It seems to be a common occurrence, but I don't.
Calamari storm.
I don't know. They were babies, but they weren't big. It's fine.
Final thoughts?
Yeah, watch The Mandalorian if you can. Disney has a free trial of a week. Wait till they all come out and binge them a week if you have to. But I definitely think it's worth a watch. I would kind of avoid Watchmen. Just didn't sit right with me.
Well, that's my plan, and that's all our time. Thank you so much for watching Screen It or Stream It.
And remember, don't take your kids to the movies on Tuesday nights because that's when we go.